Good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Soraya Mia. The High Court has fixed June 5th to rule on whether to allow Datuk Seri Najib Razak to proceed with his bid to compel the government to produce a supplementary order purportedly issued by the former king that would allow him to serve the remaining of his sentence under house arrest. Lead counsel Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, representing Najib, said Judge Dato' Amarjit Singh also ordered the applicant to file additional written submissions, if any, before the date. The lawyer said all of the documents have been filed. Shafi'i explained that the proceedings can be carried out in chambers in view of certain materials disclosed in the last affidavit, which is apparently sensitive. Justice Amarjit allowed the application, reiterating that all other parties are not allowed to partake in the proceedings, including the media. Najib filed the application on April 1st. He claimed there was an addendum order by the then Yang Di-Pertuan Agong in the royal pardon granted to him on January 29th, whereby in the addendum he was allowed to serve his prison sentence under house arrest. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has revealed that the royal addendum by the former Yang Di-Pertuan Agong, which would allow Datuk Seri Najib Razak to go under house arrest, does exist. The Deputy Prime Minister says this in his affidavit in support of Najib's application for leave to seek judicial review on the matter.
The UMNO President said he was shown the document by former Selangor UMNO Treasurer Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz at his house at Country Heights on January 30th. The addendum, Zahid said, clearly stated that Najib be allowed to serve the reduced sentence of his imprisonment under condition of house arrest. In his affidavit dated April 9th, he further confirmed the addendum order was genuine since it possessed the royal seal and signature of the former king. He said he believed that other government members have also seen the addendum order apart from him and Tengku Zafrul, naming Pahang Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail. Ahmad Zahid said he does not possess a copy of the addendum order due to its confidentiality, especially since it has yet to be enforced, but later confirmed that an original version is kept by the Attorney General Chambers. Meanwhile, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz is seeking to file an affidavit to correct factual errors in another affidavit, claiming the former Yang Di-Pertuan Agong had, in an addendum order, granted house arrest to Datuk Seri Najib Razak. Tengku Zafrul, who is Investment, Trade and Industry Minister, said this is to ensure a just and fair decision be made in the interest of all parties. Tengku Zafrul said this came about after he had cited a supplementary affidavit by UMNO President Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi regarding Najib's application to compel the government to produce the addendum order.
In other news, the government will stick to its plan of cutting fuel subsidies this year to narrow the national fiscal deficit. In an interview with Bloomberg, Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli says Putrajaya is on track to focus its handouts on helping the needy.
Rafizi said the move was necessary to manage the sequence of subsidy cuts, as the risk of inflation loomed before the cuts were implemented. He added that the government planned to reduce its budget deficit to 4.3% of gross domestic product this year, down from 5% in 2023. The minister had previously spoken about the targeted RON 95 subsidy program in the second half of 2024 to allow the government to optimize its resources for those who need it most. Blanket subsidies on RON 95 fuel had accounted for the bulk of the 81 billion ringgit spent on handouts in 2023.
The International Monetary Fund IMF has revised the outlook for Malaysia's real gross domestic product to increase slightly to 4.4% this year from its earlier prediction of 4.3%. In its latest World Economic Outlook, IMF predicted the GDP growth to remain at 4.4% the following year as well.
It projected Malaysia's current account balance at 2.4% in 2024 and 2.7% in 2025. As for global growth, the IMF estimated it to be at 3.2% for last year and to continue at the same pace in 2024 and 2025. According to the IMF, though the risks to global outlook are now broadly balanced, new price spikes stemming from geopolitical tensions along with persistent core inflation can still pose a threat. On the upside, IMF said looser fiscal policy and assumed projections could raise economic activity in the short term, while inflation could fall faster than expected amid gains in labour force participation, allowing central banks to bring easing plans forward.
The government has decided that it will not continue with the Petaling Jaya Dispersal Link (PJD Link) highway construction project. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil says the decision was made following the developer's failure to meet the conditions agreed in order to extend the project.
PJD Link telah memohon pelanjutan untuk memenuhi sejumlah syarat ataupun condition precedent, tapi ini telah ditolak oleh pihak kerajaan dan keputusannya adalah tidak diteruskan. Dan akibat daripada itu, kegagalan untuk memenuhi sejumlah condition precedent ataupun syarat-syarat yang diperlukan, maka projek tersebut tidak diteruskan.
He added that the Works Ministry would be issuing a statement detailing the matter soon. The PJD Link was a proposed 25.4-kilometre dual-lane elevated expressway connecting Damansara to Bandar Kinrara and Selangor. In July last year, Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Shahri had announced the decision to scrap the project after reviewing the impact assessment report, adding that it had only been given conditional approval. The project was also met with strong opposition from residents in the area, with a lawsuit filed in June 2023 over it, claiming that the expressway would contribute to more noise and air pollution and do little to ease traffic congestion. We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Aku dari unit khas PDRM. Aku adalah polis yang tangkap polis. Namaku Sharifuddin Hussein. Panggil saja Syarif.
Welcome back. On the international front, at least 800 people in Indonesia's North Sulawesi province were evacuated following multiple volcanic eruptions. The volcano located on Ruang Island has erupted more than 3 times since Tuesday. Following increased activity from the volcano, authorities raised the alert level to the second highest level. Authorities said the eruption was triggered by recent earthquakes on the island, with the mountain spewing hot clouds as high as 1.8 kilometers into the sky. All activities within 4 kilometers from the crater has been suspended. Ruang Island is home to about 838 residents, most of whom have now evacuated to the nearest island, Tagulandang. Authorities and communities across the United Arab Emirates were clearing debris today after a torrential downpour killed at least 1 person and damaged homes and businesses. It was the heaviest rainfall the UAE has seen in 75 years. The floods affected major highways and disrupted flights at Dubai International Airport, one of the world's busiest hubs for international travel. At least 1 person was killed when a 70-year-old man was swept away in his car in Ras Al Khaimah. The rains began on Monday night, and by Tuesday evening, more than 142 millimeters of rain had soaked the desert city of Dubai, normally the average amount it receives in a year and a half. The storm's impact extended beyond Dubai to the entire UAE and neighboring Bahrain and Oman, where 19 people died in floods after 3 consecutive days of heavy rain. The United States and the European Union are planning further sanctions against Iran in response to its recent attack on Israel over the weekend, aiming to deter Israel from escalating the situation further. While Saturday night's attack resulted in no casualties and minimal damage to Israel, its war cabinet issued a warning that the attack would not go unanswered, though no specifics were provided.
was a step change.
U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Washington planned to impose new sanctions targeting Iran's missile and drone programs in the coming days. While EU top diplomat Joseph Borrell said the bloc is preparing to expand its sanctions on Iran too. United Nations sanctions over the Iranian nuclear program expired in October. However, a number of countries, including the US, EU and UK, maintain sanctions. Iran said the attack was in retaliation for an Israeli airstrike on its embassy compound in Damascus on April 1st. But Iran has signaled it now considers the matter closed.
As international pressure focuses on persuading Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to avoid a response that could drag the region into a wider war, in Gaza, the United Nations warns that it is still struggling to prevent famine in the besieged enclave. Andrea Di Domenico, the head of the UN Humanitarian Office for Gaza and the West Bank, says aid deliveries within Gaza were facing significant checkpoint delays, and that last week, 41% of UN requests to deliver aid to northern Gaza were denied. The UN is also appealing for $2.8 billion to provide desperately needed aid to 3 million Palestinians. It stressed that fighting the looming famine in Gaza required not only food, but also sanitation, water, and health facilities. Di Domenico said Israel's military operation at Al-Shifa Hospital, Gaza's largest medical facility, was so it has been forced to shut down. According to Gaza health authorities, Israeli assaults have killed at least 33,899 Palestinians since October 7th. In other news, with just 100 days to go, France is getting ready to welcome the world's biggest sporting event, the Olympics. Held from July 26 to August 11, 2024, the Olympics will bring together 10,500 athletes from 206 countries, while just weeks later, Paris will play host to 4,400 Paralympic athletes.
Paris will have 15 competition venues for the Olympic Games and will host 21 of the 32 Olympic sports in and around some of its most iconic monuments. Awarded the Olympics in 2017, all permanent infrastructures for the Games are now ready, and the building of temporary sites has started in Paris, notably on the Place de la Concorde. Meanwhile, the Olympic torch was lit in ancient Olympia on April 16th and will reach France on May 8th in the port city of Marseille, after a journey on the three-masted Bellum ship. Organisers are counting on the flame relay across France for the mood to swing in the country as the Games approach. This after a poll last month showed only over a third of French felt enthusiastic about the global sporting event, with many saying they would stay away or leave the city if they could.
Thousands of Taylor Swift fans have been affected by concert ticket scams ahead of her UK tour later this year. According to Britain's Lloyds Bank, at least 3,000 victims were duped into buying fake tickets since July, with £1 million lost so far. The average amount lost by each victim was £332, equivalent to 1,979 ringgit. In some cases, the victims had lost more than £1,000, or 5,961 ringgit. Lloyds Bank said more than 90% of reported cases stemmed from fake advertisements or listings on Facebook. They usually involve tickets offered at discounted prices or access to sold-out events at inflated prices. The bank added that concert ticket scams had increased by 158% since last summer. Singers Beyoncé, Harry Styles, and British boy band Coldplay were among the artists most used in targeting. Meanwhile, this just in, Parti Bersatu Rakyat Sabah PBRS founding president Tan Sri Joseph Kurup has died today. He was 80 years old. It is learnt that Joseph died at the National Heart Institute IJN here. Joseph had retired from politics in January last year, stepping down as PBRS president. His son, Dato' Arthur, who was deputy president, took over the presidency. Arthur is also Agriculture and Food Security Deputy Minister. That ends AWANI Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Soraya Mia, and good night.